M1220.
406 here on KHTS. Today, the state of California has relaxed many of its health and safety protocols and restrictions, but again, just today, citing a rise in both cases and hospitalizations, LA County has decided to re-implement a mask mandate beginning Saturday at 11:59 p.m. So if you're out at a bar on Saturday night and you are unmasked, it'll go over the loudspeakers. Attention, it is time to reapply your masks. Asked whether LA County might consider further restrictions, Dr. Muntu Davis, the county's health officer, says anything is on the table if things continue to get worse. So here to help us out, figure it all out, is Dr. Bud Lawrence, the medical director of Henry Mayo's Emergency Department and chairman of the hospital's COVID-19 task force. Dr. Bud, happy to have you back in.
Thank you so much for having me again. Appreciate it.
I don't think that you were aware of the latest news until I told you like 2 minutes ago. So just top line reaction to that.
That's right. It's an extremely busy day, but top line reaction is that we are amid a fairly reasonable surge. This is not the kind of surge that we saw back in January and February. Certainly we had way more patients sick and way more patients in the hospital, but this is definitely a surge, and a lot of this has to do with this Delta variant that's out there. And kind of what we know about this Delta variant is that just like the UK variant that is more infectious, it causes more infections. That UK variant caused about 50% more infections than the usual coronavirus that causes COVID-19. This one causes 50% more infections than the UK variant. So that means it's fairly contagious. And so it doesn't surprise me actually that the LA County has decided to sort of ratchet back up those mask mandates a little bit just to kind of try their best to keep everything in check.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I feel like it's trying to get the toothpaste back in the tube. But as you say, the numbers are going up. And if it's as simple as, hey, you have to wear your mask inside, I don't think it's asking a lot of people. Specifically about the Delta variant, the people that are getting sick from it, I know a lot of children weren't at risk for the regular coronavirus or the UK variant, but from what I'm reading in the news, obviously you're seeing it firsthand, are children more and more susceptible to this variant?
They are. The data that's coming back, again, as more data comes back, we have more information, but the data that's come back so far shows this Delta variant very likely affects children much more than the previous models of coronavirus that have come through. So really what we've got to look at is that big balance that parents are always asking. Kids with coronavirus tend to not get very sick. Certainly a small percentage do get very sick, but most tend to do fairly well. But now with the Delta variant, more of those kids are getting sick, so it brings up this question of vaccinate versus non-vaccinate. And I think that's a real, that's a question that's most families are grappling with. Hopefully they've decided to go down the vaccination pathway. I think most of the data that's out there seems to be pointing to the fact that this is the way to go. Again, it's the United States of America. You can make your own choice and your own decision on what you want to do with your body and your family. But there is our job, I think, is to give you the data to help make that decision. And I think a lot of the data is overwhelmingly pointing to the fact that the vaccine is way more beneficial than the risk it poses.
As a doctor, I'm sure you have a lot of neighbors and friends coming up to you and asking you questions. Have you had any conversion? Somebody who says, I'm not going to vaccinate, or I'm not vaccinating my kids, and you've given them information and what you know, and they've made that turn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm standing out there being, shouting from the rooftops that everyone needs to get vaccinated, even though that might be the best way to keep coronavirus in check. I think that there are a lot of people that were sort of chose to sit on the sidelines and watch how this all played out. I think there was a lot of initial concern about long-term safety data and how people might tolerate this vaccine. And I think a lot of the people that stood on the sidelines are now saying, you know what, I've kind of seen how this has gone. Everyone's tolerating it very well. The risks are very small and the benefits are quite large. And they're now saying, I'd like to go in the game. Coach, please put me in.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those people now are heading in to get vaccinated.
And relating to LA County's decision, LA County today reporting more than 1,500 new COVID-19 cases. No backlog. This is the highest number we've seen since early March. Hospitalizations jumped to 452, and most, if not all, of those hospitalizations are from people who have chosen not to get the vaccine yet.
That's really one of the big chunks of data that I think is motivating people that were on the sidelines to get vaccinated, is because when you look particularly at this Delta variant, and when you just look nationally, the people that are in hospitals that are so sick they have to spend the night in a hospital with COVID, those people almost uniformly are unvaccinated. Some vaccinated people can get sick, but it's very, very rare. And we're looking at the mortalities, the people that are dying from COVID still, which is definitely still happening. These tragedies are still occurring. Those people, almost 100% of those are unvaccinated. So that just is telling people, hey, listen, if you are unvaccinated, you are potentially taking a relatively undue risk that the vaccination can actually mitigate. And so I think that's kind of some of the data that's really pushing people to make that step.
He's Dr. Bud Lawrence, the medical director of Henry Mayo's emergency department and chairman of the hospital's COVID-19 task force. I said last time to you, from everything that I've read, it's less about this holistic national herd immunity, more just focused on community immunity and protecting you, your loved ones, people around you, everyone in your community. I want to talk about the local vaccination program. What's the state of that? Just from what you're seeing, not saying numbers or anything, but have you seen a slowing in the amount of people that you guys are vaccinating?
I think there is. I mean, I think as you well know, many of the people in the community know that Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital put forth at their own expense essentially a vaccination clinic and put over 52,000 shots in arms, which is a great service to this community. Certainly there were other people giving vaccinations. I think that most of the people who were really high risk and elderly have probably gone out and either sought out those vaccinations and they're currently vaccinated, or they've actually had COVID. So I think now we're dealing with a younger population, and it's those people who are were again on the fence, but I think many of those people hopefully are coming around to see that the data sort of points to vaccine being something that is well worth it.
And finally, schools. The state is requiring all schools to be in person starting in the fall. The health and safety guidelines have sort of sputtered to start off here. Earlier in the week, the state said that it was up to the schools to turn kids away that would not wear the mask in school. They've since kind of retract on that. Has Henry Mayo been in contact with local schools? And if so, what guidance are you giving them?
We've actually helped with our vaccination clinic to help get the teachers and school staff members vaccinated and getting students vaccinated. In terms of their policies, I mean, much of the policies, even though we're looking at a localized school district and the Hart District and the other districts in Santa Clarita for the elementary schools, those districts are really governed by LA County. And so what LA County kind of tells them, they sort of have a sandbox to play in, and LA County makes the rules of the sandbox. And so there is some flexibility there, but much of it is sort of ushered down from above. I can tell you that I'm in contact with the school board, the Hart School Board relatively regularly, and they are all wheels on the ground running, trying to get the best protection and programs in place for our students. There's a very real benefit to being in the classroom socially and psychologically, and the school district understands that, and they're working very hard to make sure that our students and our community has that option, and that it's safe for kids and parents and families and teachers for the kids to be in school.
Dr. Bud Lawrence, the medical director of Henry Mayo's emergency department, also the chairman of the hospital's COVID-19 task force, joining us here, giving us the latest information. Of course, you can go to henrymayo.com for that as well. Their Facebook page, they go on frequently, like once every 2 weeks, maybe.
Plus or minus, yeah.
Yeah, giving the latest information, answering all of the community's questions. He wanted to come in today and talk Emmys. Specifically, he wanted to ride hard for Emily in Paris. He thought it was got the short shrift as far as nominations, but more pressing information possibly next time, Dr. Bud.
Maybe next time. We'll
Maybe next time. It is 4:15. Thank you so much for coming in and giving us this update.
My pleasure.
Of course. Quick break. More music coming up.
Hometown.